In this lesson, we're going to play some syncopated grooves. We're going to play left hand syncopation using some of those ghost notes and upstrokes and downstrokes that we worked on in the last lesson. And you might see that I've got some funky new cymbals up here. These look very different and sound very different from the ones you heard in the last lesson. Almost the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of what Zildjian offers. So we had the rock pack in the last lesson, which is very clean and very bright. And now we have the K-Custom Special Dry cymbals, which are very dark and trashy. As you can see, the top of the cymbal is mostly unlathed, which gives it a very dry sound, and there is a lot of hammering with big hammers and small hammers all over the place, so it gives it a dark, complex sound. I'm just going to play a little bit for you so you can hear what these cymbals sound like. Zildjian offers so many different cymbal sounds in their whole catalog from all these different series, and it's really inspiring to me to be able to play these different things and just hear what they sound like. They inspire new ideas to me just by the way they sound and the way they respond. So I think it's important to check out all kinds of different cymbals and different series from Zildjian and just notice how they feel different and they sound different and they kind of make you want to play in different ways. These are great for gospel music and funk and jazz and things like that, where you want a cymbal that you can play and it's going to get out of the way quickly. Throughout this lesson, we're going to see a bunch of different 16th note and 8th note combinations. This first one is 2 16ths followed by an 8th and then 2 8th notes on beat 2. So we would count that 1 E and 2 and 1 E and 2 and. We're going to use this exact rhythm in a groove, but I want to talk about the sticking first. So the sticking for this that we're going to use is right, left, right, 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 left, right, right, right. So we're playing consistent 8th notes with the right hand, and then we're playing that E of 1 E and 2 and in the left hand. Now let's split the hands up. So we're playing consistent 8th notes in the right hand. We're going to play that E in the left hand, and we're going to add a bass drum note on the downbeat. It sounds like this. 1, 2, ready, go. Now we're going to add the backbeat. So I'm thinking of that E as an upstroke so that I can prep for the backbeat. Let's play it together. 1, 2, ready, go. We talked about this in the last lesson. When I play that little ghost note, which I'm actually using an upstroke to play, it needs to be really quiet and really small on the E of 1 E and then I play a big accented stroke as a downstroke on beat 2 so that then I'm prepped to play the low note again. Let's play that together. We'll play 4 bars of 4/4 using this same beat. 1, 2, ready, go. Now we're going to add some bass drum on the and of 1 and the and of 3. So the right hand and the bass drum will be together with those, and then that little ghost note will be right in between those notes. Let's play it together. 1, 2, ready, go. can experiment with adding notes or taking away notes to any of these grooves. So I'll play the same thing that I played in the last one, except I'm going to take away the and of 1, and I'm going to take away that ghost note on the E of 1 as well. It sounds like this. 1, 2, ready, go. If you really want your grooves to sound great, it's incredibly important that you're aware of the dynamics that you're using for each individual note. If you play your ghost notes too loud, or if you play the hi-hats too loud, all of the vibe goes away from your groove. I'll play exactly that same thing I just played, and I'll play everything the same dynamic, and you'll see how stale it sounds. 1, 2, ready, go. I would imagine there's probably some musical context where that might work, but for me, playing in that way is not comfortable. I don't think it sounds good, and in most situations, it's probably going to get you fired. So we're going to go back to playing in a musical way where the ghost notes are low and the backbeat is strong. Let's do one more version where we're adding another ghost note and we're changing the bass drum pattern just a little bit. 1, 2, ready, go. I'm going to take that same groove now and play a couple of open hi-hat notes. I'll play 4 bars, and I'll just improvise a little bit where it's going to be opened. And then I'll take it over to the ride cymbal and play a little bit on the bell and play that for 4 bars as well. 1, 2, ready, go. Now these are just specific examples of grooves that you can use. These are by no means the only grooves you can play. You can put ghost notes in all kinds of different places. You can open the hi-hat wherever you want. There's no gold standard of what a syncopated groove is, but it's important that you use your own creativity to come up with grooves that you like the sound of and you like the way they feel. Now we're going to shift those 16th notes from the beginning of the 2/4 bar to the end. So the 16th notes will be on the and of 2. So it'll sound like 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2 and a 1. The sticking for that will be right, 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 left, right, 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 left, right. Let's play that rhythm with the right hand on the hi-hat, the left hand on the snare drum, and we're going to add a beat 1 on the bass drum as well. 1, 2, ready, go. By itself, it doesn't sound very good, but when you add the backbeat on beat 2, it starts to sound like a real groove. 1, 2, ready, go. This is an example where we're playing an actual ghost note on the of 2 and the of 4, as opposed to playing an upstroke, like we did when it was on the E. E and 2. 1 E and 2 E and That ghost note stays down. So let's play that together at a little slower tempo, and we'll play this groove for 8 bars. 1, 2, ready, go. Sometimes it can sound cool to play an accent instead of a ghost note on a syncopated groove. So I'm going to play a little variation on the groove we just did, And on the of 2, I'm going to play it as an accent, not a ghost. And then instead of playing on beat 3, I'm going to move that to the and of 3. And then I'm going to keep the ghost note that's on the of 4. That sounds like this. 1, 2, ready, go. Experiment with playing ghost notes and accents in different parts of syncopated grooves like this, and you can come up with really cool feels that you might not expect. Now we're going to combine the first rhythm, 1 E and, with the second rhythm, 1 anda, and play some syncopated grooves that use both of those rhythms. 1, 2, ready, go. Now I'm going to play that same rhythm, but I'm going to experiment with some open hi-hat sounds for 4 bars, and then I'm going to move over to the toms for 4 bars. 1, 2, ready, go. I want to show you a new rudiment that we haven't used yet. This is called the drag. There are a couple different ways to play drags. You can play it with a buzz as the pickup note, or you can play it with a tiny little double stroke as the pickup note. We'll go through both of those types. First, let's get into the technique that's required to play a buzz. When I play a buzz stroke, I'm dropping the stick on the head and letting it bounce out. To get the buzz to be fine and not chunky like this, I need to add a little bit of pressure in the fulcrum point and a little bit of pressure in my fingers. You'll want to practice this in both the right and the left hand, and eventually this type of a buzz will be the basis for what becomes a buzz roll or a multiple bounce roll. So practice your right hand and your left hand. Experiment with the amount of pressure that you need to get the sound that you want. If I have a lot of pressure, it'll really cut the sound off and make it pretty short. If I have less pressure, I can get a longer, sort of chunkier buzz. And if I don't have enough pressure, it sounds like this. So practice both your right and left hand, as I mentioned, and if you're trying to play a buzz roll or a multiple bounce roll, you want the buzz to last as long as you can. So eventually you're going to kind of put those hands together and blend it all together into one sound, like this. It takes a while to get this technique down, of course. I want to stress that you don't have to move your hands super fast to get a nice smooth buzz. The longer you can let your roll play out in each hand, your buzz play out, the better off you're going to be when you start combining them together. Now let's incorporate those buzzes with the primary stroke and play some drags. Now when you see a drag notated, it'll be 2 tiny grace notes followed by the primary note. So sometimes you will only play 2 notes, but you can also play this buzz sound to play a drag as well. Now you can play that with your left hand as well. Right hand will play the buzz and the left hand will play the primary note. Unlike the flam, which is really close together and kind of comes off as one sound, the drag really is 2 different sounds. A nice way to think about it is the word today, today, today. Just like the flam, you can adjust the spacing and the volume of the buzz to make your drags sound different. So you can play a long spacing, which sounds like this, or a really short spacing, and you can play loud or soft with that buzz. Or you can play the drags in your right or left hand, and you can alternate them if you want, or you can play them all on one hand in a row. I'm going to play an example of a fill that you've maybe heard before, where all the drags are on the same hand, and then I'm going to incorporate the rim shot into this as well. I can also open up the spacing of that a little bit more, so it almost sounds like my hands are alternating. In the context of the drum set, we often use drags as a buzz in the left hand or a double in the left hand, leading to a primary stroke which is in a cymbal and also on the bass drum. So one way we can practice that is just by playing drags, and then in addition to the hand, the primary stroke is played also in the bass drum. Sounds like this. Now I can move my right hand up to the hi-hats and incorporate the drag into a groove. The actual placement of that buzz stroke is closer to the last 16th note of beat 4, but it's notated as a grace note on beat 1. But the way you're going to play it, you might want to think 4E and A1, 4E and A1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes drags are notated within the drum set music as a 16th note with a slash through it. Here you see it notated as 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 1. Let's play that together. We'll do it 8 times in a row. I'll count you off. 1, 2, ready, go. Even though this is notated as a 16th with a slash, we're not going to play exactly 2 notes there. We're going to play this buzz because sometimes it feels good to have that buzz sound lead into the downbeat. So now we're going to play a little more syncopated groove, and we're going to incorporate that drag into that as well. 1, 2, ready, go. Sometimes we do want to play a drag that only has 2 notes as the pickup. To get that, we need to relax the pressure in the fulcrum point and relax the fingers a little bit more than with the buzz. It sounds like this. Now notice I'm not playing 2 individual notes. It is a bounce, but I'm just stopping it after the first bounce. It's going to take a bit of practice to get this down and just get your 2 notes in there, but you can practice them over and over on one hand, or on the other hand you can play them on the snare drum, or in this case you can play them with the bass drum and the hi-hat like this. One simple way you can vary the texture in your groove is by moving your syncopation up to the hi-hat. So instead of playing your ghost notes only on the snare drum, you can move them over to the hi-hat, and it sounds funky there as well. I'll play the same groove we just played before, and I'll do 4 bars of playing the ghost notes on the snare drum and then I'll do 4 bars of moving that left hand up to the hi-hat. 1, 2, ready, go. You can turn any of the syncopations in your groove into drags as well. Typically when we do this, we use the doubles instead of the buzzes, because otherwise the buzzes can get a little bit messy. Let me give you a couple examples of that. We've gone through a lot of different techniques talking about upstrokes and downstrokes, and we've talked about syncopation in the left hand and drags and flams and toms and all kinds of other things. Now, it's important for you to play with this stuff and come up with your own ways to use it. Try to be musical, try to be creative. Don't just read what's on the page, even though there are a lot of different variations on the page. You can take one thing that's written on the page and you can play it in a whole bunch of different ways by making ghost notes out of regular notes, or playing accents, or playing buzzes, playing double strokes instead of buzzes. There are so many options to spice up these simple grooves. Now, just to give you an example of all the different things you can do, I'm just going to improvise for a little bit utilizing some of these techniques that we've been talking about, whether it's drags, buzzes, hi-hat open, toms, syncopation, all kinds of different things. I'm just going to play for a little while and use a bunch of different things to show you what's possible. We've gone over a lot of stuff at this point, but these are all just ingredients that we're going to use to make our dishes. They come together in many, many different possible combinations to create new and interesting things. It's important to isolate these different techniques and ideas and practice them so that they become second nature when it's time to put them in your groove, especially when you're improvising. You've heard me say this before. Don't try to take it too fast. If you're struggling with any of these things, isolate them, slow them down, work on them, right? It's going to take some time, and that's okay. It should take some time. In our next lesson, we're going to introduce syncopation in the bass drum.